Fox Racing PS4 for yet another round in touring cars with the BMW Series 3 in the Japanese circuit of Sugo. Kev Allen is the championship leader, Simon Allen, Andy Booth is third, Diogo Silva is fourth, and Andy Bramall is fifth. Qualifying for race 1 here at Sugo saw Simon Allen have an excellent pole position, followed by Andy Booth, Kev Allen, Craig Lloyd, Diogo Silva, Jambo, Stuart Brand, Brian Hastings making a return to the series, and Phil in ninth. As we wait for the green lights here at Sugo, and what a great start by that blue BMW. That is Brian Hastings. Has he jumped a start or what? Doesn't seem to be the case. Simon Allen has gone into the lead, and it's a really poor getaway from one of those yellow BMWs. That is Kev Allen. Kev Allen has had a disastrous start. There he is in turn 2 or turn 3, actually behind Diogo Silva, as we see Simon Allen disappearing in the lead. Andy Booth, Craig Lloyd, Jam, and there's someone spinning. There was a collision, oh dear, between Stuart Brand and Phil, and that's a direct opposition to each other because they are involved in a fight for 8th place in the championship, and already a collision here in lap 1. Brian Hastings was momentarily in third, but he seems to have lost a bit of momentum now as he runs wide in that corner after the back straight. He's now in 5th. Still an incredible start by Brian Hastings in that blue and white BMW. I have never seen a start like that before, and he's in the grass again. He's in the grass again, coming into the final corner. Here comes Diogo Silva, and oh dear, collision, mayhem here in Sugo in the last corner, and that was Diogo Silva making an ambitious, or should I say half-hearted, or should I say silly, or should I say, well, I'm running out of adjectives here, but it seems to me that Diogo wasn't at his best there, and now poor Brian has got back into 7th place, which I think is where he started. So from an amazing start, he has gone up to 3rd, and now in the space of 1 lap back to 7th, as we see Craig Lloyd running wide after the chicane. It's a very common mistake here at Sugo. Craig Lloyd also making a return here. He of course has finished in the top 5 in every race he has contested, and has an incredibly high podium percentage as well, which is trying to maintain in this race, as he's sitting in a very comfortable 3rd. Here we have Andy Booth, who again has the same livery as Diogo Silva, just to avoid any clashes. They pretend to be teammates. Has been happening for a few rounds now. Beautiful sliding there by Andy, really quick through that section of corners just before the final corner, running a bit wide there in the final corner, but really completely under control of this BMW Series 3, as we now finish lap 2 with Simon Allen in the lead, followed by Andy Booth and Craig Lloyd. In the meantime, we have not seen, well, we have seen it because Diogo Silva and Brian Hastings have collided, and Kev Allen just got 2 places in one corner, basically, because he was able to avoid that carnage, and now Kev sits 5th, Brian in 7th, Diogo in 6th, Simon Allen, they're running wide again. He's really trying hard to create a gap there. The small mistake there at the exit of the chicane, it's very easy to let it go wide, and you just run out of traction and off you go. Very tricky circuit, this Sugo circuit, very well suited to touring cars actually. But very unforgiving curbs as well, so you really need to be super precise around the corners, slide the car as much as possible to make sure you maintain your speed, but also try to avoid the curbs, at least in some corners, especially some of the inner curbs, although here in this one you can actually go over it, as we continue to follow on board with your leader Simon Allen, who's really at ease in these touring cars. He's done a good job in the past with these types of cars, as we complete yet another lap, 3 laps completed now. As usual in all Fox Racing PS4, we have a 12-lap race, Here we have a lap time of around 1.5 minutes. In fact, the leader is running in the low 127s, which is quite a fast pace for this track. Jambo in that distinctive orange, almost looks like the Netherlands national team type of livery with this Chevelle, whatever that is, sponsor. Very strange sponsors here in Old Fox Racing PS4. He's done a good job there. He's in 4th place. He took advantage of Kev Allen's appalling start, and now he's defending from Kev, but really doing a great job there, sitting in 4th place, Jambo. As we are now on lap 4, so it seems to me that we have a group fighting for the lead here, which is basically Simon Allen and Andy Booth, because Craig Lloyd is already around 4 seconds back from the leader, which is not unattainable, but it is quite tricky to recover, because these are, of course, the same cars, the same setups, and at the front we've got drivers of equal talent. So it's going to be quite difficult for Craig to make a bid for the win here as we continue. Here is Craig, and in fact, no, he's recovered quite a lot of time, and he's now actually sitting at the back of Andy Booth. So Andy has lost some time. Maybe he's made a mistake somewhere, which we haven't seen. He used to be much closer to Simon Allen, but well, he's now sitting 3.4 seconds behind. So Craig Lloyd in that black and white BMW with the Mist sponsorship, another very obscure sponsor here in this series, is now making a bid for 2nd place, but in the meantime, of course, Simon Allen has checked out of pretty much everyone here at Sugo Sportsland, a circuit, one of those typical Japanese circuits which has a lot of character, which means it's a bit rough in places, but it's actually nice because it's a bit rough in places. It's a pretty short circuit, 1.5 minutes in the touring car means, of course, a much lower lap time in a faster Formula or prototype type of car, or even a GT car, as you see Andy Booth getting quite sideways there in the last corner. Very tricky corner to get right. You don't have to brake a lot. In fact, you might not even need to brake at all. But you do need to keep the correct line, because otherwise you just run out of track at the end, and it's a guaranteed spin at the entrance of the start-finish line, as we see Craig Lloyd now getting a little bit more interested in fighting for the 2nd place. It's not an easy circuit to overtake as well, especially with these cars, which are very similar cars in performance, very similar top speeds, very similar performance and the braking as well. So quite interesting to see how Craig Lloyd is going to approach this, because he seems to have a bit more pace compared to Andy, but there's really no way for him to get past, unless of course Andy makes a mistake or he has a small problem with his car. It's not very easy for Craig to really challenge. This is a good overtaking spot here. This is the back straight, of course, which is also a steep descent. Here, heavy braking. You need to get this braking right for this corner. It's possible to overtake, but Craig wasn't quite close enough there to make a move on Andy. Andy really making a beautiful line through this section before the last corner. He really seems to be rally crossing it, but in the right way. So to really maintain quite a lot of speed through this last corner. He's actually gained a few tenths of a second. Just gives him enough breathing space to ensure that Craig is not going to try to dive into this first corner. By the way, it again looks like an obvious overtaking spot, but it's actually not that easy, because it's very, very easy to just outbrake yourself and actually not complete the pass at all. Here we are in turn 3. This is also a possible overtaking spot, because it's a heavy braking into the entrance of the chicane, but I guess they're just now following each other and not really gaining a lot or losing a lot, but just keeping with each other for now, as we are now in lap 7. So we still have a few laps to follow. Stuart Brand also making a return to this series. He collided with Phil, and we've got a problem here because Kev Allen actually has dropped to last, and I wonder what has happened in there. Kev Allen has actually disconnected. Kev Allen has disconnected from the race. We can confirm with the race director now, and this has major implications, as Kev Allen is of course the championship leader. So the championship leader has dropped out of this race here at Sugo. It is round 35 of the championship, and it's the first round that Kev Allen is going to score no points. So quite dramatic implications here, as Simon Allen is in the best possible position to gain 25 points to his main championship opponent, as Kev Allen must have had some sort of problem with his connection, and it's a shame that he has dropped from this race, but we can confirm that he is no longer in the race, as you can see from the gap there in the interval gap, which is more than 2 minutes now. So major drama here at Sugo with already one retirement. Here is Andy Booth, continues to be followed by Craig Lloyd, and these two, I wonder if Craig is now, we are on lap 8, entering the last third of the race, and I think Craig has to try something special, otherwise he's just going to follow Andy to the finish line. And great race from the two of them, but Craig will think about the missed opportunity of gaining second place, as we see there Andy Booth in his usual sliding line through the last section of corners, and also Andy is also slightly closer to Simon Allen. Nothing to worry about for Simon yet, but he's now under 3 seconds the lead. And here is Simon Allen with that, I think it's a Union Jack flag on his BMW, very patriotic livery there for Simon Allen. He also seems to like white, as of course in Old Fox Racing we race with all sorts of different cars every week, and Simon Allen always seems to be on the white car, and that's not a sight that other drivers like to see in their mirrors. And Simon Allen has dropped off at the chicane. Here comes Andy Booth, here comes Craig Lloyd, and they both through. Simon Allen again with that sort of problem. He's in the lead. He has quite a big gap, and then he makes a mistake. We've seen this over and over again. We've seen it at Imola with the Corvette. We've seen it in other races, which I can remember. He comes on Craig Lloyd, and this is how you make an overtake here. Well done, Simon. As you can see, with cars of equal performance, you do have to force your way through, and that's what Simon Allen has done. But of course, it was not for the lead, it was for second place, as we see Phil is in 8th, which is effectively last on the track because Kev Allen has dropped out. Phil has, of course, done a great job with the Corvette at Imola, which was, I believe, the last round, if I'm not mistaken. But here he's finding it a bit more difficult to adapt to this BMW 320 TC version and to this Japanese circuit of Sugo Sportsland. Of course, we've already been in Japan in this series. We've been into Sakitu, so now we have covered pretty much every continent. We have raced in America, at least in North America. We haven't really raced in South America yet, I think. Also not a very popular location for Project Cars 2 circuits. I can't remember many circuits in South America. We have, of course, raced all over Europe, and we have also raced in Japan, and we haven't been to Africa, but I don't think we have a lot of circuits in Africa in this game either. So it's a truly global championship that we have here as we follow Stuart Brand, who has now clear. Ooh, and Stuart there with a bit of a drifting line. Drifting, of course, very popular in Japan, and I think he's trying to please the local fans that have come here in mass to see the old folks race. Even with lockdown, they just couldn't help themselves. They had to come out and watch these amazing drivers from all over the world perform their magic in this BMW 320 as we follow Diogo Silva. I thought that was Andy Booth, but it's Diogo, who of course has inherited 5th place with Kev Allen's departure from this event with a disconnection. Craig Lloyd is in 3rd, but not far behind actually, and maybe we can still have a race for the lead as we see now. Phil has found Stuart Brand. Here we have a battle. These two have already collided once on the first lap of this race. And now let's see how they're going to end it, as we are now in lap 10, so 2 laps to go. Not a lot of time for Phil to make a move here if he wants to recover. And this is what I was saying. Well done, Phil, there for avoiding a spin. But it's so easy to just let the car through too much and then basically just going into the grass and almost beating it, Phil. Now, what's happening in the battle for the lead? It's 0.8 of a second between 1st and 2nd, and 0.8 of a second as well, well, 7 to 0.8 of a second between 2nd and 3rd. So clearly, this is not over yet by any means. But none of the drivers seem to be in a position to make a move here, as Andy Booth is already trying to defend a little bit, just to prevent Simon from having any ideas of making a huge dive into turn 1 or something like that. So here comes Andy really drifting through that corner. Beautiful handling and control of that BMW 320 as he chases another win. I forget how many wins he has in this series. I think he's got 5 wins, so this would be his 6th, which would actually equal Craig Lloyd, as it were, and really consolidating his 3rd place in the championship. He fought for it for a very long time, and for some races, like 4 or 5 races, it seemed that Andy really had the pace, but at the moment of truth, really something was missing, some disconnection or some mistake or some delay, and he was fighting for this 3rd place in the championship for a long time. Now he's got it, and he's really hanging on to it, because we are now in the last lap. Diogo Silva is in 5th, and Andy Booth is going to win this race. What a great win by Andy. Simon Allen making a final attempt there, but not really, not quite. He's a little too late. As we see, Andy Booth now coming to take the checkered flag and win again in Old Fox Racing. Well done to Andy. 2nd place, Simon Allen. Good result, but he's going to be disappointed with that 3rd for Craig Lloyd. And here comes Jambo really now with Diogo Silva all over him, but it's a little bit too late from Diogo as well, as he finishes 5th, and Jambo does a good job finishing 4th. Let's see who is in 6th. There's Brian Hastings. Someone in the background was running wide big time, and that was Phil. Phil has actually gone through Stuart Brand. We haven't seen this, but it's quite an important move for Phil to finish in 7th, but well done to Brian Hastings. A bit of an odd race for him, where he made an amazing start and was momentarily in a podium position before dropping back to 7th, which of course then became 6th with Kev Allen's premature departure from this race, as Brian now comes to take a well-deserved 6th place, and that's 8 points. Well done to Brian. Phil is in 7th. Stuart Brand finishes last on the road, and Phil has actually some damage there. I wonder if these two have got together again. We haven't really seen it, but Stuart Brand in 8th place. Confirmation of your result in there. Yet another victory for Andy Booth. More to come on race 2. I'm sure that all these drivers are looking forward to yet another exciting race here at Sports on Sugo. Stay with us.